This is Mount Shasta, 14,179 feet, the summit. I climbed up this route in 1997 after staying at horse camp for 3 nights waiting for the weather to clear. We got the word that it was going to be a clear morning and started off before it was light out, up the Casseval Ridge to Helen Lake, and that's at about 10,000 feet. We were pretty much just over the other ridge, and now we're all up at the old ski bowl. And this is where the original ski park was for the Lake Siskiyou County and Shasta area. But our friend Karen said that they had an avalanche that may have taken out a building or a chairlift and deemed it too dangerous to be here, so they rebuilt it on the south face in a valley at a lower elevation, unfortunately. But they got snow for the last few days, as did we, with this unusual late September storm. In fact, today's the day after avatars of the Earth gathering, and throughout the weekend when it did snow, I'd say we got close to a foot. We're now at about 8,000 foot elevation, and I'm here with some friends from the Avatars Conference, including the esteemed author, Brett Lauder.
Loader. How you doing? Looter.
Good, man.
Looter.
How you doing? Right.
L-U-E-D-E-R.
You got 3 strikes, right? You got it. That's right. That's
Mr.
right.
Brett
Thank you.
Lauder, who's going to take us out to the ridge here on this beautifully scenic view within like the cloud zone area. Look at that.
Right.
We're like looking right down into where it's going to snow. And Brett's going to take us on a little tour because he's done a lot of research on Mount Shasta.
Yeah,
So we
well,
don't
it's
have to walk far, but face
Right.
the camera and tell
one of the
us,
most beautiful places on Earth, if you ask me. I've seen a few. Been to Hawaii, especially. I think this rivals Hawaii.
Let's
and
walk so she's
the
looking
legends
at the
here are the same as Hawaii. You know,
Yeah.
on that level, or any other exotic place. So, you know, our view is obstructed today, but normally we'd be able to look across and see Castle Crags, which is a really unique rock formation. It's all jagged, and that's very sacred to the Indians. There's petroglyphs over there. But here, we're on the mountain, right? This is the focus. We can't see the big peak right now. But this place is riddled with legends and myths of Lemuria and a city underneath the ground, about 1.5 miles down.
Let's have a conversation about that, because I've also done research on the city of Telos, which we would be standing on the ceiling of right now, in a massive inner volcanic chamber, which you think could also house other ET species. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, Mount Shasta is a hotbed. From what I've learned, the research is that when the continental Lemuria sank, the survivors, one of the surviving parties found Mount Shasta, and they established a town or a home base here. And over the years, whether it was through conflict with other surface people or the sun mutating, they went underground. And as they went underground, they became isolated and were able to advance and become what are known as ascended masters, supposedly. So the theory is that while there are physical bases here by, I think, other alien bases and even our government, the CIA has a known presence here, Telos is supposedly on a different frequency than our physical Earth. They're supposedly lighter and more ethereal, if you will, less dense. And, you know, supposedly by that tradition, the Ascended Master tradition, we're in the most dense part of the universe right now. And all we have to do is go up from here, right? The idea of raising your vibration. And people like Diane Robbins, she's become known as the ambassador to Telos because she's been able to channel a figure from Telos known as Adama, who's some type of a leader, a political leader, or spiritual leader. And they have messages for us here on the surface, and they would like to join with us again. And but we have work to do, spiritual work to do, get our houses in order. And that in a nutshell is the legend, right? And
Right.
Many legends have shot off of that, you know, with strange sightings all over the place, multiple phenomena on the mountain.
And many hikers who have met very unusual characters here on the mountain.
That's right.
With perfect hair.
That's
And there is the legend of Phylos of Telos, who will meet you on the trailhead. And you may hear a very faint ringing sound right before he appears. and humans then become telepathic, and few words need to be exchanged. And if that person is of a right heart, non-violent, non-threatening in any way, curious, open to an inner earth experience, they are sometimes invited in. And the way it's described as Phylos will be your escort, a facade of the mountain will just open up and you walk right in. And we're looking at some of those facades right here. And we know some photographic evidence of Mount Adams with craft coming in and out, and they even call it the door. In your best estimation, if there were some doorways we could walk through that wouldn't be too hard on a human to get there, where would you place it here on Mount Shasta?
Well, I think many people have had different experiences along those lines, and I think there's many entrances. But in my own experience, I had an experience up here where I met a very interesting gentleman who looked perfectly human, but as you mentioned in your reference before, he had perfect hair. And what that reminded me of was Val Thor from the Dr. Frank Strange's material, right? Val Thor was slick, looking like he could pick up on some Earth women for sure if he wanted to. but that's the kind of, he looked, otherwise, his name was Randy Joseph. I thought that was a little strange too. You know, I've heard of Jim Bob and Billy Bob maybe. Jim Boy, there's a lot of, but Randy Joseph, I've never heard that before. Most people, so I thought that was kind of weird. But anyway, what was really strange about this man, I thought, after he hiked off, we had a little meeting up on a trailhead here. He came back, we waved again, and when he came down this way, he went around the corner, and I came out to I was sitting right up here. I came out to the ridge, and I never saw him come back out to the parking lot. And so my theory was that there was a little entrance right up here on a rock face facing that way.
All right.
Just about 300 or 400 yards up that way. It's hard to see, to tell now when it's snow out. Things look different with all the snow.
Right.
So, but if we felt hardy, we could walk up that way and see what we could find. Can't really
we
see
might
the trails
just do that. Should we go for a walk?
We could. Sure.
And that's all for that.
Yeah.
Bye.
And there's a local, so follow.
Hi, my name is Brad Olsen, author, researcher, lecturer. Here on the slopes of Mount Shasta, about halfway up elevation, we're at about 8,000 feet, and you can see these beautiful clouds forming below us that look like they're dropping rain and snow. We're right at their level, and above us, more clouds obscuring the summit, but we can see to about the 11,000 foot mark where those high clouds are. And I'm here with my good friend, Brett Lauder, and
How you doing,
and
Brad?
I go way back.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Researcher, fellow, tall guy, cool guy, outdoorsman, and knows this mountain very well. And when we think of Mount Shasta, one of the first intrigues I had, and most amount of photographic evidence, was on the UFO phenomenon. Studying it deeper, seeing that volcanoes are a hotspot for UFO activity, Mount Shasta being on the top 10 list, surely. And then knowing about the massive chambers and lava tubes that come out of volcanoes, that they would offer a sanctuary or a home. You've done a lot of research on Mount Shasta and how these ships may be able to transition through matter or cloak themselves, but once in a while they do let themselves to be seen.
That's true. I think that UFO sightings very likely are all planned, and it's part of an overall public relations campaign to wake us surface dwellers up, and it's being perpetrated by the occupants of UFOs, which in this case I think are from inside the Earth. And if you're going to talk about inside the Earth, Mount Shasta, arguably the most hot spot for all kinds of paranormal activity, including the inner Earth on the planet.
Yeah.
And as in my UFO Hunter's Guidebook, I reported that volcanoes are indeed hotspots. You have evidence from all over the world. Some of the best sightings are around volcanoes. But we, my friend, are sitting on top of, I think, what's arguably the most hot spot on the planet. I mean, maybe Mount Adams could rival this, right? We've talked about the door that's appeared there. But the reason why they have a door is because, while I think they do possess the technology to go through solid matter, I think it's just easier.
How do they do that?
Tech-wise. Well, I don't necessarily know because I'm not a tech expert, right? They supposedly have advanced technology, but what I do know is that they cloak their entrances And from what I've seen, they use doors like everybody else.
Right.
They just cloak them. So we could look at the side of the mountain.
Third dimensional reality, but then they can go through something that may look like a door. So maybe they're using a holographic projection, perhaps, too.
Right. And who knows where they're actually going? They could be going into the physical mountain, or maybe they're going through a portal.
Yeah.
Where they're going to the inner Earth or to another galaxy. Right. All that stuff is possible. Even our own human technology, DARPA, boasts time travel abilities. So if we can possess that kind of stuff, I'm sure the ETs could just flow in and out. They probably did for thousands of years because that's their role in the PR campaign. But now's the time for them to reveal themselves, and especially in terms of possible cities like Telos, which the legendary city which is below where we're standing here in Mount Shasta. They're a philosophy that they're trying to send through channelers like Diane Robbins, for example, or Sarah Adams, is to wake us up on the surface so we can raise our vibration. That will enable them to come to the surface. Our thoughts won't harm them. In that case, they're super sensitive, supposedly, right? I don't know if I've actually seen one. I suspect there was some at the Avatars event.
Yeah.
This last weekend,
Could have
right?
been.
But they look human. They're our family members, supposedly. Right. So the idea is that we're going to make communication with them once we take care of our personal spiritual business, right? And it's kind of weird because I'm getting the sun's coming in and multiple colors are kind of coming in.
It's beautiful.
The last time that happened to me, I was interviewing Diane Robbins. Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry, you were giving me cues?
No.
My eyes are like
here. I'm at about 8,000 foot elevation up here, just above the Panther Meadows. Extending all the way up here, past the parking lot. This is a sacred Native American place, still used to this day for gatherings, sweat lodges, and Native American rituals. This is the sacred Mount Shasta paranormal hotspot, and fantastically beautiful scenery. After a very early and unusual winter storm in late September, a foot of snow on the banks of sacred Mount Shasta. Brad Olsen, author, researcher, writer, lecturer at the Avatars of the Earth Gathering, with a good colleague of mine, Brett Luter, who also was speaking up there, his topic on Mount Shasta. And he took me to this place called Ascension Rock. And this is, according to his contacts and information, the node that releases down over the top cap of the city of Telos, the Golden City. Tell us about this spot, Brad.
That is the legend, Brad, and it's great to be here. Isn't this a wonderful surroundings?
Beautiful.
But yes, with my work with Diane Robbins, she's the ambassador to Telos. She channels a Dama, which is a high priestess or some type of a high official in the city that's supposedly a mile and a half below us where we're standing now, according to the legend. They're supposedly inhabited, that city's inhabited by ascended masters who are thousands of years old. They've mastered immortality. And they have messages for us here on the surface that they send through channelers like Diane Robbins.
And so why is Ascension Rock so essential? Why is it so integral in this narrative about Telos?
Because it's directly above the city, from what I'm told, and that if you want to meditate or raise your frequency, as they say, that you could access through the other dimensions, through an inward pathway.
Excellent.
Through this portal, yeah.
And Diane Robbins has meditated here many times, I'm sure. Do you know if she's ever met an entity or any kind of guide that may have taken her down into Telos?
She claims to have been down there ethereally, not necessarily physically.
Yeah.
But she channels several figures. Adama's one of them. Mikos is supposedly a librarian in a city down there called Porthologos.
Okay.
There's a guy called Phylos.
Yep.
And there's a lady named Rosalie, I believe her name was. And each one of those was giving Diane different bits of information that she's supposed to spread around the earth in what I've described as a mass PR campaign perpetrated by the inner earth people on the surface people for the purposes of raising our vibration and awareness to wake us up out of our slumber so we can all move forward into what's known as ascension.
That's great. And our elevation right now, we're probably 7,000 foot elevation.
We're right in that range a little bit, maybe a little below 6, I would say.
Tell people how they could find this place.
Well, Mount Shasta is really easy to find. You can see it from 100 plus miles away, right?
How do you drive up here, and where do you?
I'm from the Sacramento area, so I'm heading up I-5 north, and you go up through Redding, and once you get into the mountains, you're going to cross Shasta Lake. Then the mountain's going to come into view. Well, I-5 goes right by Mount Shasta City, which is the city right next to it. Lake Boulevard's the turnoff. You could take Lake Boulevard all the way right up to the top parking lot and let the magic happen.
And this is the Pine Top parking area to come off for this?
What, this parking lot for Red Fur?
Red Fur.
It's Red Fur Campground.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we just walked up a quarter mile, and now we're here.
Right.
At Ascension Rock.
That's right.
Thanks for taking us here.
You got it, buddy.
Ascension Rock with Dr. Ez and Starwalker. And here we are considering what this spot means. Dr. Ez, tell us a little bit about Mount Shasta.
We just did a meditation at, this spot, and I see things. I've been kind of a traveler in my dreams, and I don't have to be dreaming to actually have experiences, but just to travel in different dimensions and things. And I see a big city of really high tech, golden and white light, structures everywhere, like there's light everywhere
directly
here.
Below us.
Yeah. And Hollow Earth's been one of my favorite topics my whole life. I've been talking about it, and it's one of the places where I've gone when I dream. It's since I was young. So I feel like this is definitely something that's been hush-hushed, kind of like Tesla technology and a whole bunch of other stuff but it's coming out, and people are starting to speak up about their spiritual experiences. I've had a lot of different things, death experiences, where I've met higher realm beings and things.
Cool.
And okay.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah, basically I've been coming here for many years, and I've had phenomenal teachers. One of them actually did a meditation near this area, and she had an etheric being show up. She was into Transcendental Meditation with the founder of Transcendental Meditation for 20 years, and she actually went out on her own as a speaker to people on and what their journey was and what their future would be. And her name was Uta from Germany. Anyway, when she was in meditation, a androgynous being appeared and had a belt around its waist with stones and I believe magnets maybe on the backside of them. She wasn't sure, but anyway, she was injected with a blue fluid into her spine, and then she was downloaded with all of the history of the planets and the Earth, and she knew everybody's path and what they were going to experience in the future.
Awesome.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Excellent. And Emily Infinity, you're just meditating out here. What'd you feel?
Yeah, I actually think that I felt the underground city as well. I didn't notice any beings in it, but I noticed a sense of consciousness that taught me it's not going to be an instant download personally for Ascension, but it's going to take time if I just maintain the knowledge that there are beings that are higher than us, that are here to assist. Maybe I won't be healed or ascended overnight, but to maintain that understanding is the step in the right direction. So I will hold on to that.
Nice. Thank you guys for sharing.
Oh.
Oh.
Lost subject, but I thought I'd throw that out there.